let's get into this reading of the book of Jasher. All right. Chapter 20. Let's start. And at that time, Abraham journeyed from the plain of Mamre, and he went to the land of the Philistines, and he dwelt in Gerar. It was in the 25th year of Abraham's being in the land of Canaan, and the 100th year of the life of Abraham, that he came to Gerar in the land of the Philistines. And when they entered the land, he said to Sarah his wife, Say thou art my sister to anyone that shall ask thee, in order that we may escape the evil of the inhabitants of the land. And as Abraham was dwelling in the land of the Philistines, the servants of Abimelech, king of the Philistines, saw Sarah was exceedingly beautiful. And they asked Abraham concerning her, and he said, She is my sister. And the servants of Abimelech went to Abimelech, saying, A man from the land of Canaan is come to dwell in the land, and he has a sister that is exceedingly fair. And Abimelech heard the words of his servants, who praised Sarah to him. And Abimelech sent his officers. They brought Sarah to the king, and Sarah came to the house of Abimelech. And the king saw that Sarah was beautiful, and she pleased him exceedingly. And he approached her and said to her, What is that man to thee with whom thou didst come to our land? And Sarah answered and said, He is my brother, and we came from the land of Canaan to dwell wherever we find a place. Next page. Bear with me. And Abimelech said to Sarah, Behold, my land is before thee. Place thy brother in any part of this land that pleases thee, and it will be our duty to exalt and elevate him above all the people, the land, since he is thy brother. And Abimelech sent for Abraham, and Abraham came to Abimelech, and Abimelech said to Abraham, Behold, I have given orders that thou shalt be honored as thou desirest, on the account of thy sister Sarah. And Abraham went forth from the king, and the king's present followed him. As at evening time, before men lie down to rest, the king was sitting upon his throne, and a deep sleep fell upon him. And he lay upon the throne and slept till morning. And he dreamed that an angel of the Lord came to him with a drawn sword in his hand. And the angel stood over Abimelech and wished to slay him with the sword. And the king was terrified in his dream. And he said to the angel, In what have I sinned against thee, that thou comest to slay me with thy sword? And the angel answered and said to Abimelech, Behold, thou diest on account of the woman which thou didst yesternight bring to thy house. For she is a married woman, the wife of Abraham, who came to thy house. Now therefore return that man his wife. She is his wife, and shouldest thou not return her, know that thou wilt surely die, thou and all belonging to thee. And on that night there was a great outcry in the land of the Philistines, and the inhabitants of the land saw the figure of a man standing with a drawn sword in his hand, and he smote the inhabitants of the land with the sword. Yeah, he continued to smite them. And the angel of the Lord smote the whole land of the Philistines on that night. And there was a great confusion on that night and on the following morning, and every womb was closed, and all their issues, and the hand of the Lord was upon them, on the account of Sarah, wife of Abraham, who Abimelech had taken. So, wow, let's go back and talk about that. So an angel appeared and started just murking everybody. That's crazy. You got to understand how powerful angels are. This angel did this all on his own. That's why I wanted to read the book of Jasher. We're just getting started. The battles and wars that happen in this book are nothing less than epic. Continuing. And in the morning, Abimelech rose with terror and confusion, and with a great dread, and he sent and had his servants called in, and he related his dream to them, and the people were greatly afraid. And one man standing amongst the servants of the king answered the king, saying, O sovereign king, restore this woman to her husband, for he is her husband. For the like happened to the king of the Egypt, For the like happened to the king of Egypt when this man came to Egypt. And he said concerning his wife, she is my sister. For such is his manner of doing when he cometh to dwell in the land in which he is a stranger. And the Pharaoh sent and took this woman for a wife, and the Lord brought upon him grievous plagues until he returned the woman to her husband. Now, therefore, O sovereign king, know what happened yesternight to the whole land, for there was a very great consternation. Sorry, man, stuff is hard to read sometimes. Let me read that again. Now, therefore, O sovereign king, know what happened yesternight to the whole land, for there was a very great consternation and a great pain and lamentation, and we know that it was on the account of the woman which thou didst take. Now, therefore, restore this woman to her husband, lest it should befall us as it did to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his subjects, and that we may not die. And Abimelech hastened and called and said, Sarah called for. And she came before him, and he had Abraham called for, and he came before him. And Abimelech said to them, what is this work you have been doing in saying, you are brother and sister, and I took this woman for a wife? And Abraham said, because I thought I should suffer death on account of my wife. And Abimelech took flocks and herds and manservants and maidservants and 1,000 pieces of silver, and he gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah to him. And Abimelech said to Abraham, behold, the whole land is before thee. Dwell in it wherever thou shalt choose. And Abraham and Sarah his wife went forth from the king's presence with honor and respect, and they dwelt in the land, even in Gerar. And all the inhabitants of the land of the Philistines and the king's servants were still in pain, through the plague which the angel had inflicted upon them the whole night on account of Sarah. And Abimelech sent for Abraham, saying, pray now for thy servants to the Lord thy God, that he may put away this mortality from amongst us. And Abraham prayed on the account of Abimelech and his subjects. And the Lord heard the prayer of Abraham, and he healed Abimelech and all his subjects. All right, that's the end of chapter 20. It's pretty wild. The angel just went out there and just took everybody out. Well, mostly everybody. All right, moving forward, chapter 21. And it was at that time, at the end of the year, and 4 months of Abraham's dwelling in the land of the Philistines in Gerar, that God visited Sarah, and the Lord remembered her. And she conceived and bare a son to Abraham. And Abraham called the name of the son which was born to him, which Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at 8 days old, as God had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him. And Abraham was 100, and Sarah 90 years old, when Isaac was born to them. And the child grew up, and he was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast upon that Isaac was weaned. And Shem and Eber and all the great people of the land, and Abimelech king of the Philistines and his servants, and Phicol the captain of his hosts, came to eat and drink and rejoice at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of his son Isaac's being weaned. Also Terah the father of Abraham, and Nahor his brother, came from Haran, they and all belonging to them, for they greatly rejoiced on hearing that a son had been born to Sarah. And they came to Abraham, and they ate and drank at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of Isaac's being weaned. And Terah and Nahor rejoiced with Abraham, and they remained with him many days in the land of the Philistines. At that time, Serug, the son of Reu, died in the first year of the birth of Isaac, son of Abraham. And all the days of Serug were 239 years, and he died. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bare Isaac to Abraham. And God was with Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and he grew up. And he learned to use the bow and became an archer. And when Isaac was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the door of the tent. And Ishmael came to Isaac and seated himself opposite to him. And he took the bow and drew it and put the arrow in it, and intended to slay Isaac. And Sarah saw the act which Ishmael desired to do to her son Isaac, and it grieved her exceedingly on the account of her son. And she sent for Abraham and said to him, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son. For thus did he seek to do unto him this day. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah, and he rose up early in the morning, and he took 12 loaves and a bottle of water, which he gave to Hagar, and sent her away with her son. And Hagar went with her son to the wilderness, and they dwelt in the wilderness of Paran with the inhabitants of the wilderness. And Ishmael was an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness a long time. And he and his mother afterward went to the land of Egypt, and they dwelt there. And Hagar took a wife for her son from Egypt, and her name was Meribah. And the wife of Ishmael conceived and bare 4 sons and 2 daughters. And Ishmael and his mother and his wife and children afterward went and returned to the wilderness. All right, next page. And they made themselves tents in the wilderness, in which they dwelt, and they continued to travel, and then to rest monthly and yearly. And God gave Ishmael flocks and herds and tents on account of Abraham his father, and the man increased in cattle. And Ishmael dwelt in deserts and in tents, traveling and resting for a long time, and he did not see the face of his father. And in some time after, Abraham said to Sarah his wife, I will go and see my son Ishmael, for I have a desire to see him, for I have not seen him for a long time. And Abraham rode upon one of his camels to the wilderness to seek his son Ishmael, for he heard that he was dwelling in a tent in the wilderness with all belonging to him. And Abraham went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. And he asked for Ishmael, and he found the wife of Ishmael sitting in the tent with her children, and Ishmael her husband and his mother were not with them. And Abraham asked the wife of Ishmael, saying, Where has Ishmael gone? And she said, He has gone to the field to hunt. And Abraham was still mounted upon the camel, for he would not get off to the ground, as he had sworn to his wife Sarah that he would not get off from the camel. And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, My daughter, give me a little water that I may drink, for I am fatigued from the journey. And Ishmael's wife answered and said to Abraham, We have neither water nor bread. And she continued sitting in the tent and did not notice Abraham. Neither did she ask him who he was. But she was beating her child in the tent, and she was cursing them. And she also cursed her husband Ishmael and reproached him. And Abraham heard the words of Ishmael's wife to her children, and he was very angry and displeased. And Abraham called to the woman to come out to him from the tent, and the woman came and stood opposite to Abraham, for Abraham was still mounted upon the camel. And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, When thy husband Ishmael returneth home, say these words to him. A very old man from the land of the Philistines came hither to seek thee, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing thou wast not here, he spoke unto me and said, When Ishmael thy husband returneth, tell him thus did this man say, When thou comest home, put away this nail of the tent which thou hast placed here, and place another nail in its stead. And Abraham finished his instructions to the woman, and he returned and went off on the camel homeward. And after that Ishmael came from the chase, he and his mother, and returned to the tent, and his wife spoke these words to him. A very old man from the land of the Philistines came to seek thee, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing thou wast not at home, he said to me, When thy husband cometh home, tell him, Thus saith the old man, Put away the nail of the tent which thou hast placed here, and place another nail in its stead. And Ishmael heard the words of his wife, and he knew that it was his father, and that his wife did not honor him. And Ishmael understood his father's words, that he spoken to his wife, and Ishmael hearkened to the voice of his father. And Ishmael cast off that woman, and she went away. Dang, got rid of her real quick. See, man, dad had the last word. That's how it works. Moving forward. And Ishmael afterward went to the land of Canaan, and he took another wife, and he brought her to his tent to the place where he then dwelt. And at the end of the 3 years, Abraham said, I will go again and see Ishmael my son, for I have not seen him for a long time. And he rode upon his camel and went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. And he asked after Ishmael, and his wife came out of the tent, and she said, He is not here, my lord, for he has gone to hunt in the fields and to feed the camels. And the woman said to Abraham, Turn in, my lord, into the tent, and eat a morsel of bread, for thy soul must be wearied on account of the journey. And Abraham said to her, I will not stop, for I am in haste to continue my journey, but give me a little water to drink, for I have thirst. And the woman hastened and ran into the tent, and she brought out water and bread to Abraham, which she placed before him, and she urged him to eat. And he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted, and he blessed his son Ishmael. And he finished his meal, and he blessed the Lord. And he said to Ishmael's wife, When Ishmael cometh home, say these words to him, A very old man from the land of the Philistines came hither and asked for thee, and thou wast not here. And I brought him out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. And he spoke these words to me, When Ishmael thy husband cometh home, say unto him, The nail of the tent which thou hast is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Abraham finished commanding the woman, and he rode off to his home to the land of the Philistines. And when Ishmael came to his tent, his wife went forth to meet him with joy and a cheerful heart. And she said to him, An old man came here from the land of the Philistines, and thus was his appearance, and he asked after thee, and thou wast not here. So I brought out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. And he spoke these words to me, When Ishmael thy husband cometh home, say to him, The nail of the tent which thou hast is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Ishmael knew that it was his father, and that his wife had honored him, and the Lord blessed Ishmael. Wow. Looks like he found himself a good one after all that drama. Good for him. Moving forward, chapter 22. And Ishmael then rose up and took his wife and his children and his cattle and all belonging to him. And he journeyed from there, and he went to his father in the land of the Philistines. And Abraham related to Ishmael, his son, the transaction with the first wife that Ishmael took, according to what she did. And Ishmael and his children dwelt with Abraham many days in that land. And Abraham dwelt in the land of the Philistines a long time. And as the days increased and reached 26 years, and after that Abraham with his servants and all belonging to him went from the land of the Philistines and removed to a great distance, and they came near to Hebron. And they remained there, and the servants of Abraham dug wells of water, and Abraham and all belonging to him dwelt by the water, and the servants of Abimelech, king of the Philistines, heard the report that Abraham's servants had dug wells of water in the borders of the land. And they came and quarreled with the servants of Abraham, and they robbed them of the great well which they had dug. And Abimelech, king of the Philistines, heard of this affair, and he with Phicol, the captain of his hosts, and 20 of his men came to Abraham. And Abimelech spoke to Abraham concerning his servants. And Abraham rebuked Abimelech concerning the well of which his servants had robbed him. And Abimelech said to Abraham, As the Lord liveth, who created the whole earth, I did not hear of the act which my servants did unto thy servants until this day. And Abraham took 7 ewe lambs and gave them to Abimelech, saying, Take these, I pray thee, from my hands, that it may be a testimony for me that I dug this well. And Abimelech took the 7 ewe lambs which Abraham had given to him, for he had also given him cattle and herds in abundance. And Abimelech swore to Abraham concerning the well. Therefore he called that well Beersheba, for there they both swore concerning it. And they both made a covenant in Beersheba. And Abimelech rose up with Phicol, the captain of his hosts, and all his men, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba, and he was in that land a long time. And Abraham planted a large grove in Beersheba, and he made to it 4 gates facing the 4 sides of the earth, and he planted a vineyard in it, so that if a traveler came to Abraham, he entered any gate which was in his road, and remained there, and ate and drank and satisfied himself, and then departed. For the house of Abraham was always open to the sons of men that passed and repassed, who came daily to eat and drink in the house of Abraham. And any man who had hunger and came to Abraham's house, Abraham would give him bread that he might eat and drink and be satisfied. And anyone that came naked to his house, he would clothe with garments as he might choose, and give him silver and gold, and make known to him the Lord who had created him in the earth. This did Abraham all his life. And Abraham and his children and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba, and he pitched his tent as far as Hebron. And Abraham's brother Nahor and his father and all belonging to them dwelt in Haran, for they did not come with Abraham to the land of Canaan. And the children were born to Nahor, which Maliah, the daughter of Haran and sister to Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare to him. And these are the names of those that were born to him: Uz, Buz, Kemuel, Kest, Chazo, Fildash, Tidlaph, and Bethuel, being 8 sons. These are the children of Milcah, which she bare to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And Nahor had a concubine, and her name was Reumah. And she also bare to Nahor Zebach, Gashash, Takash, and Macha, being 4 sons. And the children that were born to Nahor were 12 sons, besides his daughters, and they also had children born to them in Haran. And the children of Uz, the firstborn of Nahor, were Abi, Cherith, Gadin, Melus, and Deborah, their sister. And the sons of Buz were Barachil, Namath, Shiva, and Madonu. And the sons of Kemal were Aram and Rechab. And the sons of Kest were Anamelech, Mashiah, Benon, and Yiphi. And the sons of Chazo were Fildash, Mechi, and Ophir. And the sons of Fildash were Arud, Chamum, Marad, and Moloch. And the sons of Tidlaph were Musham, Cushan, and Mutzi. And the children of Bethaul were Sichar, Laban, and their sister Rebekah. These are the families of the children of Nahor that were born to them in Haran. And Aram, the son of Kemuel, and Rechab, his brother, went away from Haran, and they found a valley in the land by the river Euphrates. And they built a city there, and they called the name of the city after the name of Phithor, the son of Aram, that is Aram, Neraim, unto this day. And the children of Kest also went to dwell where they could find a place, and they went and they found a valley opposite to the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they there built themselves a city, and they called the name at the city Kest after the name of their father. That is the land of Kasdim unto this day. And the Kasdim dwelt in that land, and they were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly. And Terah, father of Nahor and Abraham, went and took another wife in his old age, and her name was Pilah. Yeah, that's how you say it, Pilah. And she conceived and bare him a son, and he called his name Zobah. And Terah lived 25 years after he begot Zobah. And Terah died in that year, that is in the 35th year of the birth of Isaac, son of Abraham. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and he was buried in Haran. And Zobah, the son of Terah, lived 30 years, and he begot Aram, Achilles, and Merik. And Aram, son of Zobah, son of Terah, had 3 wives, and he begot 12 sons and 3 daughters. And the Lord gave to Aram, the son of Zobah, riches and possessions and abundance of cattle, and flocks and herds, and the man increased greatly. Water break. Excuse me for a moment. All right, continuing. And Aram the son of Zobah and his brother and all his household journeyed from Haran, and they went to dwell where they should find a place, for their property was too great to remain in Haran. For they could not stop in Haran together with their brethren, the children of Nahor. And Aram the son of Zobah went with his brethren, and they found a valley at a distance toward the eastern country, and they dwelt there. And they also built a city there, and they called the name thereof Aram, after the name of their eldest brother, that is Aram Zobah, to this day. And Isaac the son of Abraham was growing up in those days, and Abraham his father taught him the way of the Lord, to know the Lord, and the Lord was with him. And when Isaac was 37 years old, Ishmael his brother was going about with him in the tent. And Ishmael boasted of himself to Isaac, saying, I was 13 years old when the Lord spoke to my father to circumcise us. And I did according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke to my father, and I gave my soul unto the Lord, and I did not transgress his word which he commanded my father. And Isaac answered Ishmael, saying, Why dost thou boast to me about this, about a little bit of thy flesh which thou didst take from thy body, concerning which the Lord commanded thee? As the Lord liveth, the God of my father Abraham, if the Lord should say unto my father, Take now thy son Isaac, and bring him up an offering before me, I would not refrain, but I would joyfully accede to it. And the Lord heard the word that Isaac spoke to Ishmael, and it seemed good in the sight of the Lord, and he thought to try Abraham in this matter. See, I want to pause right there. Be careful what you say and what you wish for, because I don't know if Isaac actually meant that, because his brother was trying to look like he's a big tough guy. And then Isaac to Ishmael was like, well, I'm more loyal. If God wants me to be killed right now as a sacrifice, I'll do it right now. And then God's like, all right, let's see if you're down to do it. I think that's that's pretty amazing. Moving forward. And the day arrived when the sons of God came and placed themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with the sons of God before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said to Satan, What is thy word to me concerning all the children of the earth? And Satan answered the Lord and said, I have seen all the children of the earth who serve thee and remember thee when they require anything from thee. And when thou givest them the thing which they require from thee, they sit at their ease and forsake thee, and they remember thee no more. Well, the devil is a liar, but that is not a lie. That is something that I see today a lot. People only want God when they want something. And once life is good and easy, they stop praying and they completely forget. That's not how it works. So that's probably one of the only things he ever said that's not a lie. Moving forward. Hast thou seen Abraham the son of Terah, who at first had no children, and he served thee and erected altars to thee wherever he came, and he brought up offerings upon them, and he proclaimed thy name continually to all the children of the earth. And now that his son Isaac is born to him, he has forsaken thee. He had made a great feast for all the inhabitants of the land, and the Lord he has forgotten. For amidst all that he has done, he brought thee no offering, neither burnt offering nor peace offering, neither ox, lamb, nor goat, of all that he killed on the day that his son was weaned. Even from the time of his son's birth till now, being 37 years, he built no altar before thee, nor brought any offerings to thee, for he saw that thou didst give what he requested before thee, and he therefore forsook thee. And the Lord said to Satan, Hast thou thus considered my servant Abraham? For there is none like him upon earth, a perfect and upright man before me, one that feareth God and avoideth evil. As I live, were I to say unto him, Bring up Isaac thy son before me, he would not withhold them from me. Much more if I told him to bring up a burnt offering before me from his flock or herds. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Speak then now unto Abraham, as thou hast said, and thou wilt see whether he will not this day transgress and cast aside thy words. Got a little contest going on here, but we all know who's going to win this one. If you think about it, it's kind of amazing that this entity, Satan, has the balls to talk to the Almighty that way. He's literally testing God, and you're not supposed to do that. This dude's crazy. But anyways, moving forward, chapter 23. At that time, the word of the Lord came to Abraham, and he said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And he said to him, Take now thy son, thine only son, whom thou lovest, even Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which shall be shown to thee. For there wilt thou see a cloud and the glory of the Lord. And Abraham said within himself, How shall I separate my son Isaac from Sarah his mother, in order to bring him up for a burnt offering before the Lord? And Abraham came into the tent, and he sat before Sarah his wife, and he spoke these words to her. My son Isaac is grown up, and he has not for some time studied the service of his God. Now tomorrow I will go and bring him to Shem and Eber his son, and there he will learn the ways of the Lord, for they will teach him to know the Lord, as well as to know that when he prayeth continually before the Lord, he will answer him. Therefore there he will know the way of serving the Lord his God. And Sarah said, Thou hast spoken well. Go, my Lord, and do unto him as thou hast said, but remove him not at a great distance from me, neither let him remain there too long, for my soul is bound within his soul. And Abraham said unto Sarah, My daughter, let us pray to the Lord our God, that he may do good with us. And Sarah took her son Isaac, and he abode all that night with her. And she kissed and embraced him, and gave him instructions till morning. And she said to him, O my son, how can my soul separate itself from thee? And she still kissed him and embraced him, and she gave Abraham instructions concerning him. And Sarah said to Abraham, O my Lord, I pray thee, take heed of thy son, and place thine eyes over him, for I have no other son nor daughter but him. O forsake him not. If he be hungry, give him bread, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. Do not let him go on foot, neither let him sit in the sun. Neither let him go by himself in the road, neither force him from whatever he may desire, but do unto him as he may say to thee. Kind of like a little mama's boy, huh? Just kidding. This is obviously this is true love of a mother and son. I mean, she's very concerned. This is her baby right here. This is her everything. So I'm not a mom, but I can understand having a mother, so I could relate to this. Neither let him go by himself in the road, neither force him from whatever he may desire, but do unto him as he may say to thee. And Sarah wept bitterly the whole night on the account of Isaac, and she gave him instructions till morning. And in the morning Sarah selected a very fine and beautiful garment from those garments which she had in the house that Abimelech had given to her. And she dressed Isaac her son therewith, and she put a turban upon his head. And she enclosed a precious stone in the top of the turban, and she gave them provision for the road. And they went forth, and Isaac went with his father Abraham, and some of their servants accompanied them to see them off the road. And Sarah went out with them, and she accompanied them upon the road to see them off. And they said to her, Return to the tent. And when Sarah heard the words of her son Isaac, she wept bitterly, and Abraham her husband wept with her. And their son wept with them a great weeping. Also those who went with them wept greatly. A lot of crying going on. And Sarah caught hold of her son Isaac, and she held him in her arms, and she embraced him and continued to weep with him. And Sarah said, Who knoweth if after this day I shall ever see thee again? And they still wept together, Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac, and all those that accompanied them on the road wept with them. And Sarah afterward turned away from her son, weeping bitterly, and all her menservants and maidservants returned with her to the tent. And Abraham went with Isaac, his son, to bring him up as an offering before the Lord, as he had commanded him. And Abraham took 2 of his young men with him, Ishmael, the son of Hagar, and Eleazar, his servant. And they went together with them. And whilst they were talking in the road, the young men spoke these words to themselves. And Ishmael said to Eleazar, now my father Abraham is going with Isaac to bring him up for a burnt offering to the Lord, as he commanded him. Now when he returneth, he will give unto me all that he possesses to inherit after him, for I am his firstborn. And Eleazar answered Ishmael and said, surely Abraham did cast thee away with thy mother, and swear that thou shouldest not inherit anything of all he possesses, and to whom will he give all that he has with all his treasures, but unto me his servant, who has been faithful in his house, who has served him night and day, and has done all that he desired me. To me will he bequeath at his death all that he possesses? And whilst Abraham was proceeding with his son Isaac along the road, Satan came and appeared to Abraham in the figure of a very aged man, humble and of contrite spirit. And he approached Abraham and said to him, art thou silly or brutish, that thou goest to this thing this day to thine only son? For God gave thee a son in thy latter days, in thy old age, and wilt thou go and slaughter him this day because he committed no violence? And wilt thou cause the soul of thine only son to perish from the earth? Dost thou not know and understand that this thing cannot be from the Lord? For the Lord cannot do unto man such evil upon the earth to say to him, go slaughter thy child. And Abraham heard this and knew that it was the word of Satan, who endeavored to draw him aside from the way of the Lord. But Abraham would not hearken to the voice of Satan. And Abraham rebuked him so that he went away. And Satan returned and came to Isaac, and he appeared unto Isaac in the figure of a young man, comely and well favored. And he approached Isaac and said unto him, dost thou not know and understand that thy old silly father bringeth thee to the slaughter this day for naught? Now therefore, my son, do not listen nor attend to him, for he is a silly old man, and let not thy precious and soul and beautiful figure be lost from the earth. And Isaac heard this and said unto Abraham, hast thou heard, my father, that which this man has spoken? Even thus has he spoken. And Abraham answered his son Isaac and said to him, take heed of him, and do not listen to his words, nor attend to him, for he is Satan, endeavoring to draw us aside this day from the commands of God. And Abraham still rebuked Satan and went from them, and seeing he could not prevail over them, he hid himself from them. And he went and passed before them in the road. And he transformed himself to a large brook of water in the road. And Abraham and Isaac and his two young men reached that place, and they saw a brook large and powerful as the mighty waters. Wow. So Satan transformed himself into a big lake or something. That's very interesting. See, these are interesting things that we don't talk about. So this book is saying that not only can these angelic figures transform into beings, they could transform into water. So maybe they can be disguised as a tree, as a desk. Who knows? Moving forward. And they entered the brook and passed through it, and the waters at first reached their legs, and they went deeper in the brook, and the waters reached up to their necks, and they were all terrified on the account of the water. And whilst they were going over the brook, Abraham recognized that place, and he knew that there was no water there before. And Abraham said to his son Isaac, I know this place in which there was no brook nor water. Now therefore it is this Satan who does all this to us, to draw us aside this day from the commands of God. And Abraham rebuked him and said unto him, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, be gone from us, for we go by the commands of God. And Satan was terrified at the voice of Abraham, and he went away from them. And the place again became dry land as it was at first. And Abraham went with Isaac toward the place that God had told him. And on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place at a distance which God had told him of. And a pillar of fire appeared to him that reached from the earth to heaven, and a cloud of glory upon the mountain, and the glory of the Lord was seen in the cloud. And Abraham said to Isaac, my son, dost thou see in that mountain which we perceive at a distance that which I see upon it? And Isaac answered and said unto his father, I see, and lo, a pillar of fire and a cloud, and the glory of the Lord is seen upon the cloud. And Abraham knew that his son Isaac was accepted before the Lord for a burnt offering. And Abraham said unto Eleazar and unto Ishmael his son, Do you also see that which we see upon the mountain, which is at a distance? And they answered and said, We see nothing more than like the other mountains of the earth. And Abraham knew that they were not accepted before the Lord to go with them. And Abraham said to them, Abide ye here with the ass, whilst I and Isaac my son will go to yonder mount and worship there before the Lord, and then return to you. Alrighty, I'm going to take a little 1 minute little break. I need to use the restroom and get some water. Let me leave you with some music. I'll be back in like a minute or less. All right. I am back. Let's continue. Sorry about that. I'm like really dehydrated today. I have no idea why, but I just cannot get enough water. All right, continuing. Let's get back to where we were, where Abraham and Isaac see a pillar in the sky, and his brothers and the other guy, Eleazar, didn't see anything. So let's read that again. And Abraham said unto Eleazar and unto Ishmael his son, Do you also see that which we see upon the mountain, which is at a distance? And they answered and said, We see nothing more than like the other mountains of the earth. And Abraham knew that they were not accepted before the Lord to go with them. And Abraham said to them, Abide ye here with the ass, whilst I and Isaac my son will go to yonder mount and worship there before the Lord, and then return to you. And Eleazar and Ishmael remained in that place as Abraham had commanded. And Abraham took wood for a burnt offering and placed it upon his son Isaac. And he took the fire and the knife, and they both went to that place. And when they were going along, Isaac said to his father, Behold, I see here the fire and wood. And where then is the lamb that is to be the burnt offering before the Lord? And Abraham answered his son Isaac, saying, The Lord has made choice of thee, my son, to be a perfect burnt offering instead of the lamb. And Isaac said unto his father, I will do all that the Lord spoke to thee with joy and cheerfulness of heart. And Abraham again said unto Isaac his son, Is there in thy heart any thought or counsel concerning this which is not proper? Tell me, my son, I pray thee. O my son, conceal it not from me. And Isaac his father answered his father Abraham, and said unto him, O my father, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is nothing in my heart to cause me to deviate either to the right or to the left from the word that he has spoken to thee. Neither limb nor muscle has moved or stirred at this, nor is there in my heart any thought or evil counsel concerning this. But I am of joyful and cheerful heart in this matter, and I say, Blessed is the Lord, who has this day chosen me to be burnt offering before him. And Abraham greatly rejoiced at the words of Isaac, and they went on and came together to that place that the Lord had spoken of. And Abraham approached to build the altar in that place, and Abraham was weeping, and Isaac took stones and mortar until they had finished building the altar. And Abraham took the wood and placed it in order upon the altar which he had built. And he took his son Isaac and bound him in order to place him upon the wood which was upon the altar, to slay him for a burnt offering before the Lord. And Isaac said to his father, Bind me securely, and then place me upon the altar, lest I should turn and move and break loose from the force of the knife upon my flesh, and therefore profane the burnt offering. And Abraham did so. And Isaac still said to his father, O my father, when thou shalt have slain me and burnt me for an offering, take with thee that which shall remain of my ashes to bring to Sarah my mother, and say to her, This is the sweet-smelling savor of Isaac. But do not tell her this if she should sit near a well or upon any high place, lest she should cast her soul after me and die. And Abraham heard the words of Isaac, and he lifted up his voice and wept when Isaac spoke those words. And Abraham's tears gushed down upon Isaac his son, and Isaac wept bitterly. And he said to his father, Hasten thou, O my father, and do with me the will of the Lord our God, as he has commanded thee. And the hearts of Abraham and Isaac rejoiced at this thing which the Lord had commanded them, but the eye wept bitterly, whilst the heart rejoiced. It's got to be a tough situation. I mean, you're in happiness, you're at peace because you're doing God's will. You know, you're 100% confident that you're going to be with God, the Lord, after you pass. But the fear of the pain and the fire is still there. That's what I'm getting from this. And Abraham bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar upon the wood. And Isaac stretched forth his neck upon the altar before his father. And Abraham stretched forth his hand to take the knife to slay his son as a burnt offering before the Lord. At that time the angels of mercy came before the Lord and spake to him concerning Isaac, saying, O Lord, thou art a merciful and compassionate king over all that thou hast created in heaven and in earth, and thou supportest them all. Give therefore ransom and redemption instead of thy servant Isaac, and pity and have compassion upon Abraham and Isaac his son, who are this day performing thy commands. That's amazing. Even the angels were like, why is this happening? Why is this man of God who is almost as perfect as his father, why are you doing this? Like, even the angels, and the angels are way more intelligent than us. They were there when God was creating the earth. They have the ultimate knowledge, right? And even they don't understand. Hast thou seen, O Lord, how Isaac the son of Abraham, thy servant, is bound down to the slaughter like an animal? Now therefore let thy pity be roused from them, O Lord. At that time the Lord appeared unto Abraham and called to him from heaven and said unto him, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God in performing this act, and in not withholding thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, a ram was caught in a thicket by his horns. That was the ram which the Lord God had created in the earth in the day that he made earth and heaven. For the Lord had prepared this ram from that day to be burnt offering instead of Isaac. And this ram was advancing to Abraham when Satan caught hold of him and entangled his horns in the thicket, that he might not advance to Abraham, in order that Abraham might slay his son. And Abraham, seeing the ram advancing to him, and Satan withholding him, fetched him and brought him before the altar. And he loosened his son Isaac from his binding, and put the ram in his stead. And Abraham killed the ram upon the altar, and brought it up as an offering in the place of his son Isaac. And Abraham sprinkled some of the blood of the ram upon the altar, and he exclaimed and said, This is in the place of my son, and may this be considered this day as the blood of my son before the Lord. And Abraham sprinkled some of the blood. Sorry, I read that already. And all that Abraham did on this occasion by the altar, he would exclaim and say, This is in the room of my son, and may it this day be considered before the Lord in the place of my son. And Abraham finished the whole of the service by the altar, and the service was accepted before the Lord, and was accounted as if it had been Isaac. And the Lord blessed Abraham, his seed, on that day. Kind of curious to think, where it says Satan was holding the ram, I mean, was that like some kind of invisible force? Was there some kind of creature holding on to it? That's something to speculation. Thought that's a very interesting passage right there. All right, next page. Man, mouth is like dry. Okay, next one. And Satan went to Sarah, and he appeared to her in the figure of an old man, very humble and meek. And Abraham was yet engaged in the burnt offering before the Lord. And he said unto her, Dost thou not know all the work that Abraham has made with thine only son this day? For he took and built an altar and killed him, and brought him up as a sacrifice upon the altar. And Isaac cried and wept before his father, but he looked not at him, neither did he have compassion over him. Man, this Satan character, he knows how to stir the pot, just lying. And the lies that he makes are like trigger, he's using trigger words. No mom wants to hear that your son was dying and begging for their life, which he wasn't. But, Satan is a snake, and he's being, he's doing exactly what he likes to do. Moving forward. And Satan repeated these words, and he went away from her. And Sarah heard all the words of Satan, and she imagined him to be an old man from amongst the sons of men who had been with her son and had come and told her these things. And Sarah lifted up her voice and wept and cried out bitterly on the account of her son. And she threw herself upon the ground, and she cast dust upon her head. And she said, "Oh, my son, Isaac, my son, oh, that I had this day died instead of thee." And she continued to weep and said, "It grieves me for thee, O my son Isaac, oh, that I had died this day in thy stead." And she still continued to weep and said, "It grieves me for thee after that I have reared thee and have brought thee up. Now my joy is turned into mourning over thee. I that had a longing for thee and cried and prayed to God till I bare thee at 90 years old. And now hast thou served this day for the knife and the fire to be made an offering. But I console myself with thee, my son, in its being the word of the Lord. For thou didst perform the command of thy God. For who can transgress the word of our God? In those hands is the soul of every living creature. Thou art just, O Lord our God, for all thy works are good and righteous. For I also am rejoiced with thy which thou didst command. And whilst mine eyes weepeth bitterly, my heart rejoiceth. And Sarah laid her head upon the bosom of one of her handmaids, and she became as still as a stone. And she afterward rose up and went about making inquiries till she came to Hebron. And she inquired of all those whom she met walking in the road, and no one could tell her what happened to her son. And she came with her maidservants and menservants to Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron, and she asked concerning her son, and she remained there while she sent some of her servants to seek where Abraham had gone with Isaac. They went to seek him in the house of Shem and Eber, and they could not find him. And they sought throughout the land, and he was not there. And behold, Satan came to Sarah in the shape of an old man, and he came and stood before her. And he said unto her, I spoke falsely unto thee, for Abraham did not kill his son, and he is not dead. And when she heard the word, her joy was so exceedingly violent on the account of her son, that her soul went out through joy. She died and was gathered to her people. What? She have a heart attack or something? Wow. If she died, it's pretty ironic. The devil lied to her, but then when he told her the truth, she died. What? That's got to be some kind of sick plan that Satan had. Anyways, moving forward. And when Abraham finished his service, he returned with his son Isaac to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and they came home. And Abraham sought for Sarah and could not find her, and he made inquiries concerning her. And they said unto him, She went as far as Hebron to seek you both where you had gone, for thus was she informed. And Abraham and Isaac went to Hebron, and when they found that she was dead, they lifted up their voices and wept bitterly over her. And Isaac fell upon his mother's face and wept over her. And he said, O my mother, how hast thou left me? And where hast thou gone? Oh, how hast thou left me? And Abraham and Isaac wept greatly, and all their servants wept with them on the account of Sarah. And they mourned over her a great and heavy mourning. Wow, that's pretty sad. That's very, very tragic. The mom pretty much died just from the overjoyance of her son not being dead. I think the heartbreak of her thinking her son was dead was so severe that when she found out he was alive, it's just like the body was too much to go from this extreme to that extreme. And she was already old too, so I'm assuming she had a heart attack or a stroke. Rest in peace, Sarah. All right, last chapter for this episode, chapter 24. And the life of Sarah was 127 years, and Sarah died, and Abraham rose up before his dead to seek a burial place to bury his wife Sarah. And he went and spoke to the children of Heth, the inhabitants of the land, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you in your land. Give me a possession of a burial place in your land, that I may bury my dead from before me. And the children of Heth said unto Abraham, Behold, the land, Behold, the land is before thee, in the choice of our shepherds. Bury thy dead, for no man shall withhold thee from burying thy dead. And Abraham said unto them, If you are agreeable to this, go and entreat from me Ephron, the son of Zochar, requesting that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which is in the end of his field, and I will purchase it of him for whatever he desired for it. And Ephron dwelt amongst the children of Heth, and they went and called for him, and he came before Abraham. And Ephron said unto Abraham, Behold, Sorry, I lost my place. Let me read that again. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and they went and called for him, and he came before Abraham. And Ephron said unto Abraham, Behold, all requirest thy servants will do. And Abraham said, No, but I will buy the cave and the field which thou hast for value, in order that it may be my possession of a burial place forever. And Ephron answered and said, Behold, the field and cave are before thee. Give whatever thou desirest. And Abraham said, Only at full value will I buy it from thy hand, and from the hands of those that go in and at the gate of thy city, and from the hand of thy seed forever. And Ephron and all his brethren heard this, and Abraham weighed to Ephron 400 shekels of silver in the hands of Ephron and in the hands of all his brethren. And Abraham wrote this transaction, and he wrote it and testified it with 4 witnesses. And these are the names of the witnesses: Amigal, son of Abishna, and Hittite; Adikoram, son of Ashnuach, the Hivite; Abdon, son of Akriam, the Gemerite; Bakdil, son of Abdish, the Zidonite. And Abraham took the book of purchase and placed it in his treasures. And these are the words of Abraham wrote in the book, namely, that cave and the field Abraham brought from Ephron the Hittite, and from his seed, and from those that go out of his city, and from their seed forever, are to be a purchase to Abraham, and to his seed, and to those that go forth from his loins, for a possession of a burial place forever. And he put a signet to it, and testified it with witnesses. And the field and the cave that was in it, and all that place were made sure unto Abraham and unto his seed after him. For the children of Heth, behold, it is before Mamre in Hebron, which is in the land of Canaan. And after this, Abram buried his wife Sarah there, and that place and all its boundary became to Abraham and unto his seed for a possession of a burial place. And Abraham buried Sarah with pomp, as observed at the interment of kings, and she was buried in very fine and beautiful garments. And at her bier was Shem, his sons Eber and Abimelech, together with Anar, Ashkol, and Mamre, and all the grandees of the land followed her bier. And the days of Sarah were 127 years, and she died. And Abraham made a great and heavy mourning, and he performed the rites of mourning for 7 days. And all the inhabitants of the land comforted Abraham and Isaac his son on the account of Sarah. And when the days of their mourning passed by, Abraham sent away his son Isaac, and he went to the house of Shem and Eber to learn the ways of the Lord and his instructions. And Abraham remained there for 3 years. At that time, Abraham rose up with all his servants, and they went and returned homeward to Beersheba. And Abraham and all his servants remained in Beersheba. All right, continuing. And at the revolution of the year, Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, died in that year. He was 193 years old at his death, and Abraham went with his people to the land of the Philistines. And they comforted the whole household and all his servants, and he then returned and went home. Just a random thought that I'm having. A lot of these people are dying in like the mid 100s, close to 200. So I'm assuming, Sarah would have lived, another 70 years or so. So when she was in her 90s, she was probably like in, the body of a 35-year-old woman would be today. So my opinion is after the flood, God just didn't automatically cut everyone's years down to 120. He did, but it happened over time. So I think the genetics were changing. And as you see, they were living, for 1,000 years, 800, 700, 500, and we're getting lower to 300. Now the average age around this time is like 150 to 200 years old. So I'm assuming this happened over time, not just right after the flood. Anyways, I thought that was something interesting to think about moving forward. And it was after the death of Abimelech that the people of Gerar took Ben-Malek, his son, and he was only 12 years old, and they made him lying in the place of his father. And they called his name Abimelech after the name of his father, for thus was it their custom to do in Gerar. And Abimelech reigned instead of Abimelech his father, and he sat upon his throne. And Lot the son of Haran also died in those days, in the 39th year of the life of Isaac. And all the days of Lot lived were 140 years, and he died. And these are the children of Lot that were born to him by his daughters. The name of the firstborn was Moab, and the name of the second was Ben-Ammi. And the two sons of Lot went and took themselves wives from the land of Canaan, and they bare children to them. And the children of Moab were Ed, Mayon, Tarsus, and Canville. 4 sons, these are fathers to the children of Moab unto this day. And all the families of the children of Lot went to dwell wherever they should light upon. For they were fruitful and increased abundantly. And they went and built themselves cities in the land where they dwelt. And they called the names of the cities which they built after their own names. And Nahor, the son of Terah, brother to Abraham, died in those days in the 40th year of the life of Isaac. And all the days of Nahor were 172 years, and he died and was buried in Haran. And when Abraham heard that his brother had died, he grieved sadly, and he mourned over his brother many days. And Abraham called for Eleazar, his head servant, to give him orders concerning his house. And he came and stood before him. And Abraham said to him, Behold, I am old, I do not know the day of my death, for I am advanced in days. Now therefore rise up and go forth, and do not take a wife for my son from this place and from this land. For the daughters of the Canaanites amongst whom dwell. Man, it's hard to read this sometimes. Let me read this again. And Abraham said to him, Behold, I am old, I do not know the day of my death, for I am advanced in days. Now therefore rise up, go forth, and do not take a wife for my son from this place, and from this land, from the daughters of the Canaanites amongst whom we dwell. There you go. That's a good way to read it. But go to my land, and go to my birthplace, and take from thence a wife for my son, and the Lord God of heaven and earth, who took me from my father's house and brought me to this place, and said unto me, To thy seed will I give this land for an inheritance forever. He will send his angel before thee and prosper thy way, that thou mayest obtain a wife for my son, from my family, and from my father's house. And the servant answered his master Abraham. And the servant answered his master Abraham, said, Behold, I go to thy birthplace and to thy father's house, and take a wife for thy son from there. But if the woman be not willing to follow me to this land, shall I take thy son back to the land of thy birthplace? And Abraham said unto him, Take heed that thou bring not my son hither again, for the Lord before whom I have walked, he will send his angel before thee and prosper thy way. And Eleazar did as Abraham ordered him. And Eleazar swore unto Abraham his master upon this matter. And Eleazar rose up and took 10 camels of the camels of his master, and 10 men from his master's servants with him. And they rose up and went to Haran, the city of Abraham and Nahor, in order to fetch a wife for Isaac, the son of Abraham. And whilst they were gone, Abraham sent to the house of Shem and Eber, and they brought from him thence his son Isaac. And Isaac came home to his father's house to Beersheba, whilst Eleazar and his men came to Haran, and they stopped in the city by the watering place, and he made his camels to kneel down by the water, and they remained there. And Eleazar, Abraham's servant, prayed and said, O God of Abraham, my master, send me, I pray thee, good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master, that thou shalt appoint this day a wife for my master's son from his family. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Eleazar for the sake of his servant Abraham. And he happened to meet with the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, brother to Abraham, and Eleazar came to her house. And Eleazar related to them all his concerns, and that he was Abraham's servant, and they greatly rejoiced at him. And they all blessed the Lord who brought this thing about, and they gave him Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, for a wife for Isaac. And the young woman was of very comely appearance. She was a virgin, and Rebekah was 10 years old in those days. And Bethuel and Laban and his children made a feast on that night, and Eleazar and his men came and ate and drank and rejoiced there on that night. And Eleazar rose up in the morning, he had the men that were with him, and he called to the whole household of Bethuel, saying, Send me away that I may go to my master. And they rose up and sent away Rebekah and her nurse Deborah, the daughter of Uz, and they gave her silver and gold, men, servants, and maidservants, and they blessed her. And they sent Eleazar away with his men, and the servants took Rebekah, and he went and returned to his master to the land of Canaan. And Isaac took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he brought her into the tent. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of his uncle Bethuel, for a wife. Wow. See, right now, I know people are going to say, well, why is he, marrying a 10-year-old? I don't know why. These are just things that happened back in the day. Maybe things were different. Maybe he didn't take her virginity right away. Maybe they were together for some years. I don't know. But those are things that people like to question, and I don't have the answers. But that is a very interesting read right there. That's something you have to dig into, because, again, this is the book of Jasher. This is not, in these days, it's not considered part of the Holy Bible, but it was at one point. But this book that I'm reading, I don't see how it could favor Satan. This book is basically talking about the accomplishments of the people of God, the Hebrews, through the lineage of Abraham. So other than that, some very other interesting things was just how brave Isaac was at such a young age, that he was willing to go up there and let his dad slay him. That's a very, very powerful testimony to have. That shows how much you love the Lord. I know a lot of people today that love the Lord, and I don't think they would do it. I think they would cower in fear. And, I tell myself right now, I'm not scared. If God wanted me to be my throat slit and be burnt as offering, yes, I'll do it. But if the day actually, like right now, if a bunch of Romans came in and started dragging me and said they're going to do that to me, I'd probably freak out and have a heart attack. I don't know what will happen, but I would do everything in my soul and power to overcome that and pray to God to comfort me, so that I may go through this sacrifice. So this was a very interesting couple chapters. I mean, it got very violent and emotional, and the mom died from a heart attack. That's very tragic, or stroke. She basically died from a broken heart. Well, she died from excitement, but her heart was broken, and I think just the joy was just too much for her to handle at such an old age. So I thought that was a very interesting couple chapters that we read, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's the end for today. We're stopping at the beginning of chapter 25, and there is a lot more chapters to cover. I think there's about 50 chapters in this book, but that is it for today. Let's see, end off at chapter 25. I don't lose my place. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. It was very interesting. I love reading the Book of Jasher and what do you call it? The apocryphal books. They're very interesting to read. A lot of people always talk about Enoch. They read it. Yeah, it's a very good book, but no one really talks about Jasher, and this is why I wanted to read it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.